Your mind does not break because the world is harsh. It breaks because you never learned how to hold the internal line when pressure tightens its grip. You think collapse is a flaw in your character, but the truth is far simpler and far harsher. Most people enter battle without a formation. Seneca warned that the undisciplined mind shatters not from the blow, but from its own anticipation of the blow. Panic is a formation left open. Self-doubt is a doorway unguarded. Emotional collapse is the retreat sounded before the enemy even arrives. Centuries before physicians studied stress and scholars dissected anxiety, a Roman known for unshakable poise walked through the Republic with a strange and unsettling calm. His name was Lucius Varro Crispus, a man who moved through political storms, battlefield threats, and public condemnation with an ease that confounded even seasoned senators. He did not flinch when others crumbled. He did not negotiate with fear. Those who watched him assumed he possessed unnatural courage, but they did not understand. Crispus did not rely on talent. He relied on a system that stripped fragility out of the mind itself. There was a hidden Roman framework behind his composure, drawn from Seneca's warnings, drilled into the legions, and carried like a secret code among men who refused to bow to internal chaos. It was not soothing. It was not gentle. It carved away the weak reflexes that make ordinary people collapse under pressure. That system will cost you something. It demands identity, not enthusiasm. It demands that a part of you dies. The old patterns cannot come with you because they are exactly what pressure crushes first. If you want to stop breaking when pressure rises, do not ask for comfort. Ask for reconstruction. Ask for the method that made Crispus capable of standing inside storms without losing the internal command of his own mind. By the end of this teaching, you will know why you fall apart, how to reverse that fate, and what price is required. Step forward. The transformation begins with the first cut into the self. Gaius Marcellus Corvinus was an ordinary Roman soldier with an extraordinary flaw. In moments of calm, he trained well, spoke confidently, and imagined himself rising through the ranks. Yet under pressure, his mind snapped like an overstretched bowstring. During drills, he froze. During the inspections, he stuttered. When command eyes rested on him, his thoughts scattered in every direction. He believed this weakness was temporary, a mere phase he could outgrow with time. But time did not harden him. It only revealed how quickly his internal structure collapsed whenever tension closed around him. His days fell into repeating cycles of effort and collapse. Each morning, he promised himself that he would hold steady during formation, that he would not tremble when the centurion barked orders. By midday, the negotiation had already begun. He told himself he needed one more moment, one more breath, one more excuse to delay decisive action. By nightfall, he felt the familiar shame settling onto him like dust on armor left unworn. Hope rose with every dawn, and hope died before every dusk. The cycle became a private battlefield. Gaius tried every remedy his world offered. He visited augurs who read omens to reassure him that his fate was not cursed. He sought advice from older legionaries who told him to grip his gladius tighter and simply push through the fear. He changed his routines, rising earlier, fasting longer, walking the training grounds in silence before others arrived. He whispered small vows to household gods and even carried a charm beneath his tunic. None of it held when the moment of pressure arrived. His mind betrayed him every time. his rituals scattered like grain thrown to the wind. What tormented him most was that nothing external seemed to explain his failures. His body was strong, his training consistent, and his loyalty unquestioned. Yet something inside him buckled the instant tension appeared, as if he were built upon unstable ground. Gaius began to suspect, in a quiet, unsettling way, that the real enemy was not in his environment, nor in his habits, nor in the omens above. The flaw was deeper. The weakness lived beneath his behavior, rooted in the structure of his mind itself. Gaius's struggle began to take on a grim predictability. Every time pressure approached, his thoughts rushed ahead of the moment, imagining disasters that had not yet occurred. His breath tightened, his chest locked, and his vision narrowed as if the world were shrinking around him. When training intensified, or commanders watched closely, he felt his internal command slipping from his grasp. The collapse was no longer surprising. It was expected. He recognized the pattern, yet he felt powerless to interrupt it. His mind had become a torch, burning itself down faster than he could shield it. He noticed the same cycle unfolding during every assignment. When calm returned, he convinced himself he would hold steady next time. He rehearsed the perfect response, imagined flawless composure, and believed he was finally ready. But when the real moment struck, the negotiation began again. He tried to reason with himself, to bargain for just one more pause. In that hesitation, pressure crushed him. The collapse was immediate and humiliating. Gaius realized he was living inside a loop, not a life. His failures were not random, they were mechanical. One evening, after another failed inspection, he sat alone beside a dying brazier. As the embers cracked, he admitted a truth he had long tried to avoid. Something in him was built incorrectly. It was not his courage that was lacking, it was the structure supporting that courage. His mind scattered because it had no formation. It panicked because it had no command hierarchy. He felt as if he had been marching without armor, entering each mental battle exposed. The problem was not personal, it was architectural. It was then that he overheard two veterans discussing a practice attributed to Seneca and drilled into elite Roman units. They spoke of a disciplined mental construction that prevented internal collapse even under overwhelming tension. It was not a trick, nor a chant, nor a superstition. It was a system, a way of preparing the mind so that pressure no longer dictated its movements. Gaius listened, captivated but uncertain. He sensed that this ancient principle might be the missing structure he had lacked all his life, though he did not yet understand its mechanics. The next day, he approached the veterans and asked directly for the system. They told him the principle in the simplest terms: decide before the storm. Seneca taught that the mind collapses because it tries to choose under pressure when clarity is already lost. The legions trained the same truth. A soldier does not create a formation in the middle of battle. He arrives with formation already locked. The ancient Roman system was a pre-decision, a vow made far earlier than the moment of impact. Once chosen, it was irreversible in the instant of conflict. Psychologically, the principle worked because it removed the weakest link in the chain: negotiation. When the mind is forced to choose under pressure, it will always choose escape. But when the decision is sealed beforehand, the mind is no longer asked to think, it is commanded. To the Roman worldview, this was not philosophy, it was a strategy. Legions held lines because their decisions were made hours before the enemy arrived. Individuals broke because they tried to make decisions while drowning in their own rising fear. Gaius adopted the system the only way he knew how, through a public vow. At dawn, he stood before the unit's shrine, touched the cold stone of the legionary standard, and declared that his response to pressure was no longer up for debate. He vowed to stand firm regardless of internal noise. No wavering, no bargaining, no pause. He placed his mind under command as if submitting himself to a higher officer within. Those who witnessed it thought it was ceremonial. For Gaius, it was a transfer of authority, a restructuring of his identity. His first test came sooner than expected. During afternoon drills, the centurion stepped directly in front of him and barked a sudden command. Normally, Gaius would freeze, negotiate, and collapse, but this time, the vow struck faster than fear. There was no room to think. His body obeyed the pre-decision. His movements were not perfect, but they were decisive. The centurion moved on without a word. For the first time, Gaius felt pressure bend around him instead of crushing him. The vow had held. The negotiation had died. The vow held, but the struggle did not vanish. Each day, Gaius felt the old reflexes clawing at him. During inspections, his chest still tightened. During drills, his thoughts still raced. The difference was that now the collapse did not dictate his actions. Yet internally, the war continued. Every morning he woke with the urge to renegotiate the vow, to soften it, to make room for hesitation. The vow had removed some of the negotiation, but not all. Pressure still tried to pry open cracks in his resolve. He realized that the battle had simply moved deeper inside the mind. The veterans revealed the second principle: fix the time, not the mood. Seneca taught that rhythm eliminates negotiation because the mind obeys what is scheduled, not what is felt. Elite Roman units trained at precise hours, not when they felt ready. By anchoring action to a fixed moment, they removed the internal debate entirely. Gaius adopted this structure. At the same point in every drill and every watch cycle, he practiced his response to pressure. The timing did not change. He did not wait for calm. He executed because it was time. After several days, something began to shift. The repeated timing carved grooves in his mind. What once required conscious effort is now initiated on its own. His body tightened into formation before fear fully arrived. His breath stabilized earlier. His hands moved with less shaking. It was not mastery, but it was the first hint of automaticity. The fixed timing trained his mind to move before panic could seize command. Gaius felt the system beginning to work, but the veterans warned him that a deeper obstacle remained. The loophole revealed itself quietly. Although his timing was fixed, the nature of his actions varied from day to day. Some days he trained with a shield, others with a gladius, others with full armor. Each change reintroduced hesitation. The veterans explained the flaw. Variety in what reopens negotiation even if the when is fixed. Every new variation makes the mind check itself, question itself, and reconsider its movement. Gaius understood the warning. If he wanted true strength under pressure, he needed absolute consistency. No variety, no improvisation, only one path repeated until unbreakable. From that day, Gaius removed every variable. He trained with the same equipment every morning, stood in the same spot on the practice field, and repeated the same sequence of movements at the same hour. Left foot forward, shield lifted, shoulder anchored, breath set, voice firm. He removed choices until only a single pathway existed. The repetition felt severe, almost obsessive, but it was deliberate. The veterans told him that locked routines forged mental armor. When the mind has only one response, it does not break, it executes. At first, the monotony felt unbearable. His thoughts rebelled against the sameness. He longed for variation, for excitement, for something new to distract him from the internal discomfort. But the revolt slowly burned itself out. As the days passed, the repeated sequence became easier. His body began to move before conscious thought appeared. There were moments when he realized he had already acted before he noticed pressure rising. The locked system was erasing hesitation. The response was becoming instinct. What once felt forced now flowed like water following a carved channel. Then chaos struck. A sudden illness swept through the camp, reducing manpower and doubling workloads. Gaius was reassigned to night watches, forced into tight rotations with minimal rest. The drills were shortened and routines shattered. The camp was thrown into disorder as scouts reported potential enemy movement nearby. It was exactly the kind of disruption that once crushed him. His old self would have collapsed instantly. But something surprising occurred. Even under exhaustion, unpredictability, and external threat, his internal response held steady. The sequence engaged even in broken conditions. In that chaos, as he learned the truth, the system was not built for perfection, it was built for continuity. Consistency under ideal conditions means nothing. Consistency under turmoil means everything. It was not the length of his routine or the intensity of his training that made him stronger. It was the uninterrupted thread of action, the refusal to negotiate, even when circumstances changed. Gaius realized that true strength under pressure is not created in calm environments. It is revealed when the world fractures around you and your internal formation remains intact. Gaius once believed that missing a perfect execution meant starting over. This all-or-nothing lie had trapped him for years, convincing him that one mistake erased all progress. The veterans shattered this illusion. They told him that the strongest soldiers were not flawless. They were persistent. A single disrupted drill did not matter. What mattered was returning to the system immediately after. Gaius stopped worshipping perfect days and instead honored continuity. He learned that pressure punishes those who seek perfection, but it cannot break those who accept imperfection while maintaining direction. He began practicing under conditions that once would have humiliated him. If his shield was dented, he trained anyway. If he slept poorly, he trained anyway. If his timing was off, he trained anyway. Instead of resetting the standard every time conditions changed, he adapted within them. Each imperfect repetition hardened him more than a flawless one. He realized that growth lived in the cracks of disorder. This shift freed him from the fragility that had always followed him. The pressure that once dictated his actions now faced resistance. Unexpected obstacles began to appear, challenging his new discipline. A sudden summons required him to assist in reinforcing the city walls during a turbulent political dispute. Rioters erupted in nearby districts. Consular messengers arrived demanding census support. Storms flooded the lower barracks. Every disruption chipped pieces off the daily order he had built. Instead of responding with panic or disappointment, he simply continued. His routine shrank, compressed, reshaped itself to fit the moment, yet it remained unbroken. The camp admired his steadiness even as chaos thickened around them. This led him to understand the pre-solution principle. Your system begins before the problem appears. The solution is not forged in the crisis. It is forged in the pattern you maintain long before the crisis arrives. Gaius realized that no pressure could overwhelm him if he had already placed his mind on rails. He no longer trains to overcome individual obstacles. He trained to eliminate their influence. The pre-solution mindset turned fear into irrelevance. The enemy was no longer the situation. It was the absence of structure, and he had defeated it. The day arrived when Gaius no longer noticed the shift from thought to action. Pre-decided responses began executing on their own. During a surprise inspection, his posture was corrected instantly without conscious command. When the centurion's voice cracked across the training field, his breath stabilized before nerves could even spark. In tense discussions with officers, his voice held steady, unmoved by rank or scrutiny. The fear that once ambushed him had nowhere to attach itself. His identity had become a set of reinforced responses that activated faster than doubt could form. Full automaticity emerged like a second birth. Gaius felt as though a stranger lived inside him, a version of himself that no longer required permission to act. His body obeyed the structure he had forged. His mind no longer panicked under tension, because it no longer participated in negotiation at all. The ancient Roman system, once foreign and rigid, had become his internal architecture. He had crossed the threshold where discipline replaces emotion as the ruling force of behavior. He no longer tried to be steady. He was steady. Others noticed before he did. Fellow soldiers whispered that something about Gaius felt unnerving. The centurion watched him with a new, cautious respect. Some comrades felt inspired, others unsettled. They saw a man who no longer flinched, no matter the stress, no matter the pressure. They could not grasp how someone once fragile now stood with the unshakable presence of a seasoned veteran. Rumors spread that he had received divine favor or possessed hidden knowledge. His transformation violated their expectations, and expectations rarely surrender without resistance. In truth, Gaius had simply become the person he had trained to be. His former self, full of panic and negotiation, had died long before anyone noticed. What stood in his place was a soldier whose identity was forged from pre-decisions, continuity, and structure. He was unrecognizable, and that was the entire purpose of the journey. Transformation has no obligation to resemble its origins. As Seneca warned, a mind built weakly will collapse. A mind rebuilt with discipline becomes a fortress. Your rebirth begins the moment you choose the structure that will carry you through pressure.